Okay, so I'd like to welcome everybody who's online today and just let you know that we have two councillors online, so I'll just check to make sure that they can hear me. So Councillor Jack Blake, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, love. Loud and clear.
And Councillor Karen Probes, you're able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Beautiful, okay. So welcome everyone to the Unscheduled Council meeting, Friday the 12th of December, to discuss one item, which is 3.1, the School Crossing Supervisor Service. So I will now get councillors to stand for the affirmation. We recognise the traditional owners of the land. We are inspired by the early pioneers and by those who gave their lives for our country. We now ask God's blessing on our deliberations and on our commitment to build a better lifestyle and environment. Thank you. This council meeting is being recorded and live streamed to council's YouTube channel. The recording will also be made available on council's website. Whilst all care has been taken to ensure that your privacy is maintained, please be aware that your presence may be recorded. Right, so item 1, apologies. Do we have any apologies? No apologies. So item 2, disclosures of a conflict of interest at a council meeting. So is there any councillor that feel they may have a conflict to declare?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I wonder whether I'm conflicted from a previous council motion 7 or 8 years ago where the council respectfully made a decision in regard to this. And I wonder if I'm conflicted in regard to that.
Okay, and Councillor Emerson, are you declaring a conflict or you're just putting the question out there?
I'm putting the question out there directing it at the governance officer.
So I'll just hand that over to Mary.
Just turn your microphone on, Mary.
Thanks, Councillor Emerson. I can't see that there's a conflict because you were a previous councillor involved in the decision making. I'm not sure, I think another councillor might have been as well, but that's certainly not a conflict. But as the rules state, if you believe you have one, the call is yours and you can declare it now and leave the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Scully. So I'll again go to item 2, disclosures of conflict of interest at a council meeting. Does any councillor think that they may have a conflict of interest if they wish to declare it now? Right, so we have no conflicts. So we'll go to item 3.1, School Crossing Supervision Service. So we have quite a lengthy officer's report there. And I just need somebody to move a recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that Council continues to fund school crossing supervisors at Barnes Street and Cooper Street stall crossings.
Thank you, Councillor Greenberger. Do I have somebody to second that, please?
Yes, Mayor, I'm happy to second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hyde. Councillor Greenberger, did you wish to address the council on the motion?
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to apologise to the councillors for oscillating on this issue over the last few months. When the original report was presented, which provided all the technical data about the work that had been done to ascertain the level of risk of the need for school crossing supervisors, the data that is contained within the Safe Roads framework that tended to indicate that it wasn't a requirement that the supervisors be in place. I felt then that it was acceptable that we consider removing those supervisors. I also want to acknowledge the enormous amount of work undertaken by Trenton and his infrastructure team on this issue, which has in fact been going on for somewhat around 10 years, dealing with the changes in government policy, the commissioning experts to do the assessments, undertaking in-house assessments as well, obtaining grants and completing the road treatment works to improve safety at those crossings. And I want to acknowledge that according to the Safer Roads Framework, a tool developed to actually and objectively assess the risk, that the mitigation work completed should be sufficient to no longer require supervisors. And indeed, there is no legislated requirement that we do provide them. I do acknowledge also the issues around state government cost shifting to local government and the financial challenges that we are facing as a small rural council and our period of financial restraint that we're entering into and the need for cost cutting. However, to me, as a councillor, I think engagement with our community and listening to our community is what's most important in my mind, and I believe that is our role as councillors. So rather than simply to inform the principals, there was a request to meet with school councils. And it is on that basis and attending those 2 school council meetings that I have changed my mind. And the question I ask is, what price should be put on the safety of children? In fact, our own risk matrix that we have in council, that we use if we're wanting to book council premises, has a reading, if we put this kind of issue into it, that shows there is still, even with everything we've done, a high risk. So whereas the possibility of a child being hit on a school crossing that's unsupervised is unlikely, the consequences of that having that happen is in fact catastrophic. And those children will be very badly injured, if not killed. And so to me, the risk remains high. And I guess, to my mind, if we can't fund services that support the safety of children, then I really question what our priorities are. And in thinking about our ratepayers, I think if the question was put to them as to whether they would rather fund school crossing supervisors or some other service or whatever of council, that they would in fact go to fund school crossing supervisors. I pride myself on being a spokesperson for the more vulnerable in the community, and in fact, yes, parents do have responsibility for getting their children to school safely, as they do also to provide school lunches for their children. But we know in reality that that is not the case. And if we can ensure that kids get to school safely, particularly in Cooper Street, then I think that we really ought to do so. Ultimately, I think it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Councillor Greenberger. Councillor Hyde, did you wish to address the council on the motion?
I think Councillor Greenberger has covered it nicely. The work that has already been done is not lost. It is only going to be improvement on the area. And I hadn't made my mind up until we'd gathered all the information and heard from the schools. But I think a classic example was demonstrated to me, which made it very clear, is when I was at one of those schools to pick up my own children, parked on the other side of school, 50 metres away, and although there is a crossing there, they still, within 20 metres of that crossing, walk straight across the road. Now, as a parent, I have a responsibility to re-educate them, and I hope the schools will also be looking at more of an education process as well. But at the end of the day, they are children, and we need to protect them, and we need to think for them sometimes, and therefore support what Councillor Greenberg has said and agree.
Thank you, Councillor Hyde. So any other councillor wish to speak for or against the motion? So if no other... Sorry.
Yes. So I'll speak for the motion. Basically agreeing with what Councillor Greenberger said, I think even though we receive data that the areas are safe for crossing, I think we did our community consultation to find out how the schools felt affected by it, and I think we need to listen to them because they have the first-hand knowledge. And if a child is injured or killed, none of us want to be responsible for that. So I'm in favour of continuing the school crossing operators. I think we have to face reality that, you know, we have a parental responsibility to look after our children, but not everyone does. So I'm in favour of the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Probes. Anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion?
Yes, thank you. Are we speaking against the motion? Thank you. I'll be speaking against the motion for two particular reasons that stand out in my mind. Is one, that I think the governance surrounding our decision making is at an all-time low, where decisions are being made by this council outside of the governance meeting procedure requirements, where we don't make decisions prior to a meeting, even if we're influenced by people within our community. The decision can't be made at a school council get-together where we have our cakes and coffee or whatever we do at those things these days. So I think we will be challenging our governance, our commitment to the governance rules in regard to our decision making. That's one reason I'm speaking against it. And there is a process that I will probably take after a decision is made today. The other reason that I'm speaking against it is that school crossing supervisors are, in my opinion, and in lots of people in my community is telling me they're no longer required. The council has put in lots of safety things to make sure that our children are safe. Of course, Councillor Greenberger spoke about the safety of children, and of course, pretty important point, but don't know where it stops and finishes. Perhaps it finishes when the parents turn up at the school crossing and let their children out 100 metres before the crossing and they walk across the road where they see fit. So I don't think there's any consequence or argument in regard to keeping our children safe. The responsibility there is clearly with the school and the parents. The number of people that use our school crossings is diminishing by daily. It was 47 a while back, now it's 7 or 8 in Barnes Street, and I go there every day. I've been driving the school bus there now for 20 years, they told me the other day. I can't recall, and I wish I was under oath because it probably means more to be saying this, I can't recall that I've ever had to stop and let children go across any of our school crossings in Barnes Street, Cooper Street or Patrick Street. It's not needed. The requirement is not there for us to do it any longer. There's no legislation that says we should do it. And I totally respect the decision made by a previous council where they withdrew from school crossings. I don't get influenced by people telling me this is what they need. I do the total research. My total research says they're no longer required. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Emerson. Any other councillor wish to speak for or against the motion?
Speaking probably for the motion, but it's only because the numbers are stacked in the favour of it going to be keeping the crossing supervisors. But I would have actually, back in the last council, when they decided to make this decision, I would have been jumping up and down, not waiting until the 11th hour. I think that the amount of work that's gone into it, and the other thing that Councillor Emerson picked up on was it can be seen as the backlash from the community which would sway people. But what the community doesn't really understand is we all understand that we want to keep our kids safe. We all know that. We understand that. And like Councillor Emerson said, you can drive down there anytime you want. You won't actually get to pull up at a crossing to let kids go. With the numbers say that there's only like 7 in the morning and 16 in the afternoon or something. So there's not a huge amount. And once again, it's up to the parents to get their children to the front gate safe. But I think it's, there's been a huge amount of work go into this, and for us just to discard all of that, and then after a visit to the schools the other day, suddenly everyone's just had a big U-turn. I'll probably go for it with the idea that originally I wouldn't have wanted it, but now, the numbers against you anyway, so it's me.
All right, thank you, Councillor Blake. Look, I just want to add that, Councillor Emerson is right. So council is not required to supply crossing supervisors. And we have done a road safety assessment, and the assessment found that traffic volumes at these sites did not meet subsidy warrants, rendering them ineligible for state funding. But I did go to one of the schools and talk to one of the schools, and when you're looking at Barn Street, it's a busy little area in school drop-off and pick-up, because I drive through there nearly every day. I'm taking my son to school, and there's trucks, there's buses. It's just it's messy. It's a messy a messy street because it's a busy street, and children being children, sometimes they just might make that split decision and sort of not quite look quite properly if we don't have school crossing supervisors. And I just think our children are too precious, so I think we need to do everything we can to keep them safe. And we have there has been a fair bit of community input on Facebook and with the teachers and people that we have met and discussed in regards to this. And from what I'm hearing, the majority of people want us to keep the school crossing supervisors. So that will be sort of one of the reasons why I will support Councillor Greenberger's motion. So I will now put it to the vote. So I'll call... Oh, sorry, Councillor Greenberger, would you like to sum up? Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think I need to add much more, but one of the things that was pointed out to us at 502 was, in actual fact, the enrolments at 502 are increasing substantially, and that will mean that there will likely be more children exiting and entering that school grounds via Barn Street. One of the other things they pointed out to us was that children are sometimes fairly spontaneous in their behaviour, and one of the things that they've observed happening was in the wintertime when the footy practices is on at Central Park. The kids are so excited to be going, they'll just out the gate and across the road. And one of the members of that council's husband is actually a truck driver. And she pointed out that, if a kid runs out onto the road, a truck just cannot stop. So the crossing supervisor that's there at the moment, if she sees kids crossing the road, she blows her whistle and she hauls them back, and she's making sure they cross at the correct spot. The other thing that was pointed out to us, which I'll just add, which is not to do with road safety, but it's also the value that these particular crossing supervisors provide to the well-being of the whole of the school community. And I know that's, again, not a council issue, but I just think in the bigger picture, the value that this position has, this service that council provides to the community, is just important enough for us to, make this decision today. So thank you all for listening.
Okay, so I'll now put that to the motion. Those in favour? So I can see Councillor Prove, just for the record. And I can see Councillor Jack Blake. So I have Councillor Greenberger, Councillor Prove, Councillor Blake, myself and Councillor Hyde in favour. Against? Councillor Emerson, so that is carried. So there be no further business. I'll now declare the meeting closed at 1:51 p.m. Thank you.